Hey guys, how's it going? Tominator here. So we're going to take another look at the 2019 Arnold Classic. The footage this time is from the finals. This is the top 4 callout featuring Cedric McMillan, William Bonac, Brandon Currie, and Luke Sandoe. And as a bit of an added bonus, we're going to catch a quick glimpse here of some of the quarter turns. So let's jump into this. In the side relaxed position, I got to go with Brandon here. He looks the most balanced, kind of the most polished, most proportionate, I would say. William, you can see the waistline looking a little bit blocky, and the way he's splaying his arms out like that looks a bit exaggerated. Cedric McMillan has the opposite problem where he looks too closed off, and it just doesn't look quite right, to my eyes at least. Sandoe looks good. Turning around, though, to the back, it's going to be pretty hard to beat William because pound for pound, he's just packing so much muscle onto his frame, and he's got that crazy density and thickness, and very complete from head to toe. Easily the best lower body in this shot right here. It seems like he was the only guy who actually showed up with properly striated glutes to this competition. So that's got to count for something. That is one of the major hallmarks of great conditioning in the modern era. But at the same time, this is not a shredded glute contest. This is a bodybuilding contest. So we need to look at the entire picture. We need to look at all the criteria. So that means things like symmetry, proportion, balance, structure, shape, aesthetics, etc. So I feel like when we start doing that, William often tends to come up a little short in some of those areas, unfortunately. So I do think that the judges made the right call to award Brandon Currie with the title this time. And let's just keep it moving here. I'm going to break it down in more detail once they get into the mandatory comparisons. But from this side, this is pretty much picture perfect from Brandon Currie. He looks absolutely statuesque, and I can't really pick apart any weak points or flaws. With William, he looks a little bit more awkward even from this angle, and Cedric, I guess, looks slightly better, but still not doing it properly. All right, so the first pose we have is, of course, the front double biceps, and in this shot, I think most of us would agree that Currie is taking it. He's just got the craziest outline. He's got those enormous arms and the lats flaring out wide like a cobra hood, but then cinching down into that tiny waist. It's just amazing. What a sight. So structure-wise, I feel like Currie is definitely the best here. Luke Sandoe is also hanging there with him because Luke's very well-rounded, and I can't really pick apart a single weak body part or anything that's not in proportion to something else. And plus, he has that added touch of the little vacuum going on, so that definitely helps to kind of differentiate himself from the rest of the lineup, because we all know it's an extremely rare sight, almost a lost art for these guys to even suck in their stomachs to any extent in the open class anymore. So that you definitely got to give him kudos for that. William looks good. He looks big, but he's just way too blocky. That midsection is way too wide, and it throws off his flow. For that reason, I would have him in last here, actually, because Cedric looks really good. He's really big. He's got a nice outline as well. But the problem with Cedric, like usual, is the conditioning. He's got that film of water, and it's kind of obscuring his definition. So for that reason, you could even make a case for William placing ahead of him if we're factoring in conditioning primarily. Oh, and there's a familiar face. Arnold once again on the Snapchat. Seems like he's on that thing 24/7. Put the phone down, Arnold. Jeez, he's got a social media addiction. Okay, so in the front lat spread, Cedric looks good. He's not facing head on, so it's difficult to really compare him properly to these other guys. But you can tell right away, again, the conditioning's not on that level. William is structurally just not well suited to this one. He's got those narrow clavicles just like Phil, so from shoulder to shoulder, he's pretty narrow, and it's making his chest appear very scrunched and small. And the pose really seems to be dominated by his arms and by his quads, which is not ideal for a front lat spread. Brandon Currie has great lats, an excellent V-taper, best in this shot right here. And I would even say, from an upper body standpoint, he's got the best conditioning. Downstairs, those legs definitely leave something to be desired. He's brought them up tremendously over the last couple of years, but they're still not at a world-class level. So that's really the only thing I would knock him for here, because I think the upper body looks sensational. Luke Sandoe looks very balanced. He's got a big full chest, but it's not too overbearing. Like, I can still notice the lats pretty well. I would like to see the lats just flare out a little bit wider. It would make him totally like Dorian-esque in this shot, and I think he could run away with it, but it's not quite there yet. Still looks really good, really solid front lat spread. I actually have him, the battle between him and Currie in this one. Okay, turning to the side now. This is a pose that I think all of them fare very well in. But if I have to award a winner, it's going to probably be Currie again. He looks so huge and massive in this shot, the way he's hitting it. He's got that tremendous width from shoulder to shoulder. The pecs look really wide and full and square. And even the leg looks monstrous from the side. People are knocking him for his legs like he doesn't have any, but in this pose right here, are you kidding me? Look how big his side leg is. It's measuring up well to anybody's. It's probably bigger than anybody else's, and it's even got a bit of graininess too. So that's an element to Brandon's physique that even William can't match, because while William is known for a lot of things, great separation, that really tight, thin skin that shows a lot of detail, graininess and vascularity isn't really his forte. So I'm not knocking him for that. I'm just saying that's something that Currie has over Bonac. So I prefer Currie in this pose. Cedric looks amazing, but he's just lacking that polish. Look at the lower body. It's just way too soft and watery. So I feel like he could be winning this pose easily. He has all the tools. He's got the great structure and balance. It looks amazing. It's just lacking that finishing touch. And Sandoe over there has that finishing touch. If you could slap the conditioning of Luke Sandoe onto Cedric McMillan, there's your winner. It's as simple as that. But unfortunately, that wasn't the case for Cedric, so that's why he landed all the way down in fourth. But Sandoe, look at that side leg. He's got those fine etchings down through the side. You can see the glute ham tie-in. And upstairs, too, he looks very polished. The way the light's just reflecting off of his shoulders and his traps and his delts makes everything kind of pop and come alive. It looks great. All right, but let's move on. This one is so hard to call. I don't want to give Bonac fourth place here, but because he looks great. He looks absolutely tremendous in his own way. But the thing with Bonac is that what jumps out to me immediately in the side chest here for him is like the arms. They look huge, the legs, and the massive glutes. And the chest itself is almost like an afterthought. And that really shouldn't be the case when we're talking about a side chest pose. So I don't know, guys. He's so thick and well put together, though. It's hard to deny his total body development. It's just structurally I don't know. It's more like a 1A, 1B, 1C, 1D scenario, if you get what I'm saying. They're so close. But in the back double bicep, it really becomes a two-horse race here between the two in the middle, because William has the best back, I would argue, the best detail from the traps all the way down to the waist. Actually, just from the top of the head to the bottom of the feet, he's got the most detail, the most completeness, and easily the best lower body, just like in the rear relax pose. But he does have that wide blocky waist, and that really hampers his V taper, whereas Currie has that taper in spades. And the thing about Brandon is that he's not giving up much, if anything, in terms of the thickness and the density of that back. I mean, look at his traps. They're better than Williams. Look at his shoulders. Better than Williams. The lats are flaring out probably just as wide, if not wider. Williams might actually have more true width, but because his waist is so wide as well, it doesn't have that same illusion as what Currie's showing. So outline-wise, it's undeniable that Currie is just vastly superior. So it really comes down to another case of apples and oranges and what you choose to give preference to. Do we go with greater detail, better lower body, more completeness, or do we side more on the side of structure and aesthetics? So that's really up to personal preference, and I would lean more towards Currie in this one for sure, just because I think his back development is not really suffering compared to Bonac's. This isn't like a Phil Heath versus Sean Roden. I mean, it's not like that. The difference in their back development is not that great. So I would lean towards Currie in that one. And in the rear lat spread, same thing, because this one's more about structure. It's more about width and taper, and Currie has that. Bonac doesn't. Now, Sandoe there on the right looks pretty good. We're seeing a faint Christmas tree, which is something that nobody else is really showing us here in this shot. So that's a nice touch. Downstairs, though, he's tight. He's better than Cedric probably, but he's not. You can see some. He's holding a little bit of water there in the glutes still. There's still looks like a little wrinkle there, but I'm not gonna knock him too hard. But yeah, he looks good, but I don't know. Cedric there on the right, or on the left, I should say, is he's got a bit of an asymmetry going on with the lats. So in addition to the conditioning problems, I don't think he would fare well there, even if he was in good condition, because the right lat just seems to jut out more than the left. The side tricep, this is a good look for Currie. It's William's doing surprisingly decently, but I'm not crazy about the blocky waistline again. But when he steps back like this, for whatever reason, now the abs look better. I don't know if he's just flexing them harder, but it looks more aesthetic. This is kind of what Phil used to do back in the day as well, and I always liked it on him too. But it's pretty hard to go wrong with Brandon Currie. I mean, he's got that nice tight six pack. He looks massive upstairs. I don't know which way you guys want to go with that. I would go with Currie. I know the commentators were saying Currie takes that. Ab and thigh, there could be no denying who's winning. This one's probably one of the most clear-cut poses there is here in this lineup, because for the most part, these guys are really neck and neck with each other. All four of them to an extent. But in the ab and thigh, it's Brandon Currie for sure. Luke Sandoe looks absolutely gassed there. If you watch him, he's breathing in and out really fast. He can barely hold his abs flexed. That's probably just down to lack of experience, man. He's a bit of a newer bodybuilder. I think he only kind of came along in the last year or two. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I hadn't heard anything about him prior to like 2 years ago maybe. And he's certainly not used to being in this position in the top call out, going through all these different rounds. So I think he just his cardio wasn't quite there. He didn't practice his posing enough. Not that his posing is bad, but he's clearly just lacking the stamina. In the most muscular pose, great shot for everybody, really. Hard to go wrong with any of these guys here. The thing with Cedric, not enough cuts, especially through the legs compared to the rest of them. So, and even the abs look a little bit murky. But speaking of abs, Williams look pretty bad. So I don't know. Other than that, though, William looks great. He's absolutely just saturated with muscle. So that round, hard, bubbly muscle, best lower body here. So it's easy to make a case for William winning the most muscular. But Currie looks really good too. Sandoe looks really good. I don't know. This one could go any way. I really think you could give it to Currie. You could give it to Bonac. Even you could make an argument for Sandoe. So that's my 2 cents on the finals comparison. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, guys. I know that this one's definitely proved to be a little bit controversial, judging from the comments on my prejudging analysis. So please let me know what you think. Did Brandon deserve this, or should William have taken it? Thank you all for watching, and until next time, I'm the Tominator signing off, and I'll be back.